everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video, as you can see by the title, we are going to be ranking all of the Kwami Powers. Now, I've actually already done this video, however, I did that video, I checked last night. I had done it, we hadn't even seen Crocodile yet, so the Tiger Miraculous wasn't included. We hadn't seen Penalty either, so this is going to be like my updated version. However, this time I still decided not to include the Eagle Miraculous or the Prodigious, sorry. Complete mind blank. Or the Prodigious, just like we're just gonna do the Paris Miracle Box. Technically the Chinese Miracle Box. You know what I mean. The Miraculous we get regularly in the show, although I am hoping for not so much Jess, like I like Jess, don't get me wrong, but I am really, really hoping we will see Aeon again, because Aeon, Cutie Pie certified. So we're going to be doing all of the Kwami Powers now, an updated version. I have zero recollection of where I placed most of the powers last time, so this will be completely fresh really for me. So if you've recently watched the video, maybe this will be boring, but I genuinely don't remember where I placed them all. So that's pretty much all I've got to say. We're going to be ranking the Kwami Powers, and of course it is going to be all my opinion. However, besties, of course you are entitled to disagree with me. I completely understand. You can disagree with me, but please be respectful in the comments. Besties don't always agree, but besties always listen to each other. And if you want to go ahead and do this ranking chart yourself, I will link it down below. I made it. So I will link it down below for you. And we're going to do all of the Kwami Powers because now we have them. So let's get started, I guess. This is it, all Kwami Powers from Miraculous Ladybug tier list maker. Like I said, I will leave a link to it down below so you can go in and do whatever. And here are our tiers. So I'm pretty sure these tiers are the same as last time. So we have life-changing, helpful, what's that supposed to be, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous, and useless. So as you can tell by the last tier, useless, I am going to be ranking these Kwami Powers on how useful and like how powerful I think they all are. Not necessarily my favourite power, because even if a power isn't my favourite, I can see the potential in it, and I'm also not going to be judging it based on the Kwami, although to be fair, I don't think I really dislike any Kwami. I kind of like all the Kwamis. I mean, to be fair, they get very few lines, so it's really hard to form an attachment to any of them. I mean, like, Ziggy and Oriko and Stomp and Raw and Daisy and stuff, we don't really hear from them, so I mean, I like them, but I don't really have, you know, many emotions associated with them. However, I will say, not that we're ranking Kwamis, but my favourite Kwami is actually probably Kalki. Kalki. Fabulous. Oh my god. Anyway, so, of course it's my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. Just please be nice about it. So we're going to start with what I think we can all agree is the most ridiculously overpowered Miraculous, and I'm honestly a bit confused why they waited until Penalty to use it for the first time, but the Rooster is going in Life Changing. Now I did a bit of reading up on this Miraculous and only seen the power used twice in the show, in Penalty, which was, I can't remember actually, Mark did in that episode. Was it just to score goals? Or, I can't remember now. And the second time was to duplicate all of the glasses in Strike Back. So I know I've only seen it twice, but we know whoever has the Rooster Miraculous can literally do anything. So I did some reading on it last night. You can have a supernatural ability, or you can give yourself a more physical advantage. You can literally do anything with the Rooster Miraculous. It baffles me why they haven't used it until now, since it does genuinely seem like the most powerful one. Like, I'm like, okay, why did you wait till now to bring out the big guns, Ladybug? I don't know. And I do feel like the Rooster Miraculous is going to be one of the hardest to get back this next season. I think that's why it's one of the later episodes. I think it's one of the last Miraculouses to get back, which I'm not surprised about in the slightest. So now let's go to one that I think is, not to put too fine a point on it, but absolutely useless. The Pig Miraculous, right? Don't get me wrong. I agree. I do remember this from last time. Everyone's like, but the pig could be used really well. And I agree, it can be used really well. In a very, very, very specific situation. That's why we don't usually see Pigella use the power. We've only seen her use it twice in Guilt Trip, my favourite episode, and the start of Kuroneko when Adrian's watching them on the news. She's only used it twice. If Pigella is present, she's usually just there to help fight rather than to use her power. You know what I mean? So whilst I understand it can be very helpful, it needs a very specific situation in order for it to be helpful. Does that make sense? Whereas, for example, the rooster maracas, compare it to the rooster, I would imagine the rooster could be used pretty much every single situation to help save the day. The pig? I wouldn't have personally thought so. So whilst it can be extremely useful, like for example if they got close to Hawkmoth and used the power on him and they could see his true desires, they could work out his identity, yeah, you're right, that could be very useful. But in general? No. She's not useful in general, compared to the rooster anyway. The rooster, helpful in every situation. Pig? No. Although I do love Daisy. Daisy's so cute. I love Daisy. And Pig Ella's cute as well. I want to see Rose's transformation sequence again. I love the thing when she does the headbanging. It was great. So another one I think is really, really powerful is the Peacock Miraculous. You can create absolutely anything. It can be a more like normal looking life form, like Adrian, or it can be something more abstract like Optogami, like Feast. You can create pretty much any living form. You can create a living form, get it to do anything you want, and it can live forever, assuming you keep the unlock safe. In what situation would that not be? Well, I could imagine situations where you maybe wouldn't need that, but if you had full control over this being you've created, who you can give any ability whatsoever to, a bit like the Rooster Miraculous, that's going to be so useful to help save the day. So I love the Peacock Miraculous. And coming on from that, let's look at the two other creation Miraculouses. So at the top I'm also going to put in life-changing Tiki. Whilst the Lucky Charm is obviously not as controlled as the Peacock Miraculous, like with the Peacock you can create exactly what you want. Tiki not so much with that. However, as we have seen with Ladybug, she is useful and helpful in every single situation. I can't think of an episode where Ladybug hasn't done a Lucky Charm. Probably Risk. Usually the part 1 of like the finale she doesn't do a Lucky Charm because it's more focused on Marinette, than part 2 they go to Ladybug. Okay, fine, fair enough. Different case. But Tiki is always helpful. She gives you the item that you need rather than the item that you want to help save the day, and that object, no matter how weird it is, she will give it to you. Like for example in Chilling, like I always thought like, oh, Tiki gives fairly reasonable objects, she always gives you something, you know, that exists, and then in Chilling she gave her a ray gun and I was like, that's not real. I don't think ray guns are real. Are they real? I don't know anymore, I'm doubting myself. Anyway, so I do think Tiki is really useful for that. Now, the other creation Miraculous, Goat. I'm gonna put that in the middle tier. First of all, I am a bit unsure why this Miraculous, or rather why this power exists in the first place. Since we already have two creation Miraculouses, Tiki gives you an object that's random, but it's something you need, and Dusu will give you a living being that you have ultimate control over, and you can give them any kind of power or ability that you want. You can create a massive gorilla that's going to throw bananas at people. Yes please, I want one. The Goat is kind of in between these Miraculouses, where it's you can create your own object, so not a living being, it has to be an object by the sounds of things. Create your own object, but it can't be magic. As we saw in Penalty, Nathaniel just had a magic wand. It just looked like a magic wand, there was no actual magic. So I'm just a bit like, you know, it just, first of all, it just seems a bit useless on its own. I can see in what situations it would be helpful, but I can't help, because it's so similar, I can't help but compare it to the Peacock and the Ladybug. So for that reason, the Goat is in the middle. Ziggy is adorable though. I want more screen time for Ziggy, please. So now let's look at the other OG Miraculous, Plague, the power of destruction. As we've seen with Cat Noir, useful in pretty much every single situation. It's going in the top. I think it's a great superpower, to be honest. I can see why a lot of things would maybe need to be destroyed in a fight. That would help you with a tactical advantage. For example, one of my favourite Cataclysm moments is in actually Stormy Weather, the first ever episode of the show, where Cat Noir helps corner Aurora. Also at the same time he does it in Volpina as well. I think it can be like, It can be used not just to destroy an akumatized object, it can be used to their tactical advantage, not just to destroy things willy-nilly, but to use it to your tactical advantage. A lot of these Miraculouses can't be used to a tactical advantage, but I feel like the Black Cat really can be used to a tactical advantage. Now the other kind of destruction Miraculous is the Tiger Miraculous, with basically the one punch super strength that you only get once. I already said one punch, so once again, Hazel. I'm gonna put that in what's that supposed to be, because whilst I agree it can be very helpful, it's very strong, it can be used to your advantage, maybe to give you more time when you're fighting something, if you can just push them back for a few minutes whilst you come together with a plan. I can see why it can be really useful, but I don't think it would always be needed. I feel like there are other Miraculouses that could help much better in that situation. And speaking of another one I'm not the biggest fan of, is the Monkey Miraculous. Where should I put this one? In this one or this one? I'm gonna put it in the bottom category. Whilst, again, a lot like the pig, it can be used very well in certain situations, as we saw in Party Crasher, as we saw in Penal Team. Can be used really well. However, in Penal Team, it wasn't like the only thing that led to Chloe giving up and essentially de-akumatizing herself or whatever. So it's just like, okay, and it did really work in Party Crasher. I think this is part of the reason why we haven't seen the monkey, I'm pretty sure, not used any more than 2 times, as in the actual power, not Kim being King Monkey, as in the actual power of the monkey, the derision power, because it's so specific for the situation. So whilst like the pig, these 2 powers can be very, very useful in the right situation, most of these situations aren't the right situations, so it just doesn't work. So whilst I enjoy, like, I love Party Crasher, don't get me wrong, I love Party Crasher, but it's just, you know what I mean? You need a very specific situation in order for this to work. So one Miraculous I do think is super helpful is the Turtle Miraculous. Obviously this also does depend on the situation of whatever's attacking you. If it's something that's super dangerous, you're gonna really want a shield. I can 100% understand that. You probably wouldn't need that in all situations, but I do also like how they show in, for example, Optogami, where they shield Ladybug as she goes towards Style Queen, and then also in Miraculous when Sabrina has the power, so they're trying to tickle her armpit, aren't they, to get her to move, so she puts the shield on her armpit so they can't get to her. So I really like how it can be used in that way. I do think it's pretty good, but I wouldn't have put it as life-changing. So one that I'm going to put in the middle as well is the Dog Fetch Miraculous power. Now, whilst we all know how helpful this can really be, as we saw in the finale, it was extremely helpful to Felix and Daddy Agreste. I can't imagine it could be used in many different situations. So we've seen how useful it can be. In Penal Team, Sabrina got the ball with it, and obviously what Felix did in Strike Back. Super, super helpful. But how many situations could you use that in? Probably not a lot. Useful when the situation suits it, but I wouldn't have said it was super useful all the time, like the rooster is, like the peacock, like the ladybug, like the cat. Another one I'm going to put in the top category is the Dragon Miraculous. You've got 3 powers to pick from. They're all really versatile powers, in my opinion, that can deal a lot of damage, do a lot of help. I think it's a great Miraculous. As much as I dislike Kagami, as you're all aware, I do wish we got to see the Dragon Miraculous more in the show, because I think it's great. I'm excited to see what Gabriel's going to do with it, but knowing the intelligence levels between Gabriel and Kagami, I don't think he's going to use it to its full potential. No offense, Gabriel. Full offense intended, actually. Another one that I think is pretty good, I would say Tricks with the power of illusion. I think this could be used in loads and loads and loads of different situations. Maybe not all the time, hence why it's not in life-changing, but I think it can be used in a great deal of many situations and it would do a great job. I think it's a great power. One that I'm a bit unsure of its use though, I would say, is the Mulo Mouse Multiplication. I'm going to put it in ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Not that I particularly think it's ridiculous, it's just the name of the tier because Chloe. But I can see why it can be helpful. But again, I would imagine there are a few situations it could be used in. I would say more useful than the pig and the monkey, hence why it's a tier higher. But like, it was very useful in Mega Leech, yes, and in Kwami Buster, and also in Strike Back. I see how it can be useful. Like, I understand how all of these Miraculouses can be useful. But again, the Mouse Miraculous needs a kind of more specific situation. However, as we saw Melen do in Strike Back, she split into 3, with one person staying behind to protect her friends, stuff like that. So it can be useful, and I just feel like it has a bit more use to it, has a bit more versatility compared to the Pig and the Monkey Miraculouses. So another Kwami that I think has a really, really good power, I'm gonna go with Long the Snake Miraculous, the power of second chance. Oh my god, life-changing. Knowing me, if I was using it, I'd forget to do the second chance. I'd be like, oh, I wish I could rewind, and it was like, well, we can't now, it's already happened. So I guess it is relying on the fact that you do have to do that rewind thing. However, you know, Marinette's not stupid, she usually gives it to someone who knows what they're doing. Luca is great with this Miraculous. And it gives you such a huge advantage, as we saw in Desperado, as we saw in Wishmaker, used so well. I love the way those episodes are written with all the time travelling back and forth. So well done. I think the Snake Miraculous is a really valuable and powerful Miraculous, and I think this one is going to be super tricky to get back. Oh my god, I dread to think how difficult that one's going to be to get back. So another Miraculous I think is pretty powerful, but I wouldn't say life-changing, is the Rabbit Miraculous. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's amazing, and I love the episodes with all the Alex, love it. But I am always kind of like, okay, the power is to try and travel, but how can that help you? You know what I mean? Because you're not supposed to go back and really change anything. You know what I mean? Unless it's gonna have terrible consequences for the future, like we saw in Cat Blanc. So whilst I understand it can be useful in preventing disasters, again, the situation is kind of sort of specific, so I'm gonna put it in helpful because I do think it is really helpful, but I wouldn't have said it was life-changing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's really cool time travelling, but I wouldn't have said it was life-changing. My personal opinion, I think a lot of you would probably put this in life-changing, and maybe I did in the other ranking video, but I've since changed my mind and I would put it in helpful. So what I also think is quite helpful is Pollen the Miraculous, the power to basically paralyze someone. Wonderful. Not that paralysis is wonderful, but in terms of a fight, I think it'd be super useful to paralyze your enemy. I think it's great because it can paralyze loads of different things. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Again, we probably need a specific situation for it, but I think it could be widely used in most fights, you know? And then I'm gonna put, where should I put the Horse Miraculous? I'm thinking either What's That Supposed to Be or Ridiculous Utterly. I think it's gonna be What's That Supposed to Be. Because again, with the horse you can use it in lots of different situations, but not loads and loads. Maybe, actually no. Let's go Ridiculous Utterly Ridiculous. Yeah, that's right, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I agree with that one. It can be very helpful, but again, I would say in less situations compared to other ones. Super useful in episodes like Optogami and in Soul Crusher to like send messages, I guess. But otherwise, you know, and it's a shame because I absolutely love Kalki, but yeah, I think that's the right place for it. Sorry. So now we have the Ox Miraculous, which is the power of resistance where you are immune to another enemy's abilities. Helpful or life-changing? It's hard to say since we've only really seen this Miraculous used once, as in the power. I know Ivan was in Strike Back. Why was Ivan even in Strike Back? He did nothing, he just run around. Like, why was he, like, don't get me wrong, I love Ivan, but why was he even in Strike Back? He just ran around on the roof with some cool sunglasses on. He didn't even say anything, I'm pretty sure. I was like, oh, Ivan's here to join the party, yay! I do really like Ivan. Helpful or life-changing though? Because sometimes you might want the enemy's power to affect you, to use it to your own advantage. For example, like in the episode Feast, like in Simple Man. I would go with helpful in that case, yeah. I think so. I do quite like the power. I'm excited to see it in action. I'm excited to see Like, for example, is Gabriel going to use it and then Cat Noir tries to cataclysm his own dad but nothing happens? That'd be cool to see. Also kind of traumatizing, but it'd be cool to see. So I have left this one to last because this is one thing I do remember from the last video. I think I ranked the Butterfly Miraculous quite low because I wasn't really sure how it could be used for good. I have a pretty good understanding of how this Miraculous can be used for evil. I think we all have a pretty thorough understanding of how it can be used for evil now. But because I've never seen it used for good, I was a bit unsure. However, there were many discussions in the comment thread about the Butterfly Miraculous and how useful it actually could be. And you definitely pretty much all changed my mind. I think it can be extremely useful to have someone fighting on your side that I don't think you have all that much control over them compared to the Peacock Miraculous, but you have some degree of control. I remember in Eve Illustrator, Nathaniel spends most of the day trying to date Marinette. I don't really understand why Gabriel lets him do that. Like, everyone else who tries to veer off from like what he wants them to do, he's been like, no, you gotta do what I want you to do, otherwise I'm gonna take your powers from you. Nathaniel spends most of the day trying to go on a date with Marinette. Like, it's a good episode, don't get me wrong, but I've always been like, okay. So it seems like Hawkmoth can kind of like hurt you through your mind connection to get you to do what you want. And I think this actually, now that I've thought about it, I've had several months to think about it, I can't remember when the last video was, I would say the Butterfly Miraculous is life-changing. You can give a random person whatever kind of power, whatever kind of ability to help you do whatever, to help you succeed in whatever fight, any power, whatever. Like, we've seen all the different abilities Gabriel has given out to everyone. Any power whatsoever. That's amazing. I think it's definitely on par with the Peacock Miraculous. You can give them any ability whatsoever. I think it's amazing. So for that reason, the Butterfly Miraculous is now in life-changing compared to wherever I placed it last time. So I hope you're all happy now. You did change my mind. So yeah, I'd be interested to know your thoughts on the Butterfly Miraculous. So out of all of these, that's probably the one I'm the most interested in. So that is where I would rank all of the Kwami's Powers besties. Not a ranking of the Kwamis themselves. Like I said before, I pretty much like all of the Kwamis. So I will leave a picture of it here so you can see the final rankings of them all. We're probably not going to do this again just because we've got them all now. So in that case, I would love to know where you would rank them all. Do you think I was right about the butterfly? Do you think I was right about the rabbit? Was I right about the pig? I'd be interested to know, and I will leave the link down below to the tier list so you can go and rank them all, and feel free to send me a picture of where you put the Kwamis on Instagram or at me on Twitter with a picture, or send it me on Discord. The link to everything is down below in the description box. So I'd love to know what you thought, besties. Where would you rank them all? And I will see you in the next one. Bye!